Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices like Wildstyle. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Get those aerosol cans ready because we're going to be out spray painting and tagging the neighborhood in all sorts of different ways. But we're going to be trying to do so with some network building and some real-time card play. Let's take a look at Wildstyle from Pandasaurus Games. Let's show you how it plays. I'll see you on the other side. In Wildstyle, you're going to be tagging with paint different areas of the map, and you're going to be collecting sets in real time, playing 3 icons of a color, taking a tag and placing it somewhere on the map there, so we've tagged that red. Let's show you how more of the game works. So here's a game set up for 3 players. These are made up of modular districts that are double-sided, and there's a lot of these. So you basically set it up in a certain spot. You know, like for 3 players, you'll use 3 of them, 1 for each player. But you'll randomize which ones you use, which sides you use, and stuff like that. There is a certain way that you place them and such, but it's set up for 3 players right here. Now, what's going to be happening is, as I showed you, you're going to be placing tags around the different neighborhoods, and let's tell you why you're trying to do that. Well, at the beginning of the game, there are 3 goals that are randomly assigned. There's a bunch of these, and they're double-sided. You'll do 2 A's and 1 B, but they do have B on the other side. So, for example, every game is going to have some different goals at the end. So every place that you have 5 or more in a straight line, you'll get 6 points. Anywhere you have 3 of the same kind in sort of a contiguous group, you'll get 4 points. And when I say same kind, you're going to be doing set collection. So if you had 3 railways in the same group, you'd get 4 points. Or here, there's some places that are, police headquarters, and if you have a tag next to those, you'll get a point for everyone that's around one of those. In addition to that, at the end of the game, you're going to be scoring each place that you have tags for different points. For example, let's say we have these 2, both of those are worth 2 points. So it shows you which points or which tags are worth so many points, and obviously the ones that have more points are a little bit harder to get and such. So at the end of the game is when you do all the scoring for all your tags and those end game objectives. Everybody has their own board. You can be working on 2 different sets at a time, and players will start the game with 6 different tags that you'll use this round. That's it. And players will start with 3 cards, and this game is real time. So at the count of 3, everyone's going to go. And now what are you doing? You have a hand of 3 cards, and what you're doing is you're trying to, again, put sets of like kind that you want to go. So it's like, oh, I'm going to be working on a park. The color doesn't matter right now. And maybe also I'm going to be working on a train station. You can work on just 1 at a time. You can work on 2 of them. I have 1 card left in my hand. Your hand size is 3. I have 1. And this isn't going to go here because the icon doesn't match. Maybe I want to draw a card. There's 2 draw piles with 3 players, different amount depending on the amount of players, and you'll just take one. Now, you can only draw 1 card at a time. Basically, hold your cards in one hand and draw with another. You can't just be, taking all the cards. So you'll draw a card, and I have 2 cards, and look at that, I picked up a park. That's great, I can play it down here. As soon as I get a 3rd one, I'll be able to place a tag on any park out there. So let's say now I've drawn a few more cards. I don't have any of the icons that I can play on these sets, so maybe I want to get rid of one of these. Now there's a certain amount of share piles out there, and you could just place it on there like this. Now, if there's already one there, let's say these 2 are in share piles, I could place this if it's the same color or icon. So I could actually place this here because it's blue on blue, or I could place it here because it's railway on railway, like that. Now, the interesting thing is maybe on one of the other share piles, someone else had discarded a park. Well, for an action, you could take a card from the top of any of the share piles and add it directly to your set. Boom, so now I have 3 parks. So for an action, again, this is all real time, I can complete a full set. So I would clear these, basically just putting them off to the side, not to mix them with any of the other sort of piles around the game. And maybe I'll place them out, again, on any park that doesn't already have a tag on it. And then you keep going like this. Now, what am I trying to do? Well, if you remember, one of the goals was to get in 3 of a kind in a contiguous area and getting 5 in a row. So I might be able to get all 5 reds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and get a red here. I'll have 3 of a kind for the park, and I'll get a straight. That'll be great, but it's going to be hard because everyone else is placing at the same time too. And if people are seeing that I'm doing that, they might try to purposely get something to cut me off. Now, let's say I start working on this, and maybe I'm getting really close to that. Other players are like, hey, what's going on over there? Now, this is real time, so there's a lot going on at once. Now, let's say another player has 1 or 2 of these in the set, the downtown area. They can clear it off their board like they have the full set and put their tag here to block me in a sense. But they have to take this cop token, which will be bad at the end of the game. I'll show you why in a minute. So players will be continuing to do this. Once they've placed their last tag, they're not going to be doing anything else this round. Now the round will end when either all the draw piles around are empty or only one player has tags remaining on their mat. Now let's say that player was us. Let's say we had one left and everyone else was out. It triggers the end of the round, but it's not the end immediately. In fact, this is one thing that players that don't like real time might like, because once the round's over, you still have time to sort of complete sets that you've already worked on. You can't start new sets, but maybe you have cards, maybe there's stuff on the share piles. There's things that you can usually do to continue working on trying to get your last set done. So it does help players that don't like real time as much. Now, even if you're not able to do this, at the beginning of the next round, players are going to get 6 more new tags to place on here, but they get to keep the ones they didn't place. So again, if you're not liking real time a whole lot, it's forgiving, because if you don't place things out, you can place them next round, and it doesn't just end right away. You still get to finish your sets, and I think players that don't like real time will like this part. At the end of the third round, the game's over and you're going to score. And the first thing people do is, remember those cop cards you got for rushing a set? Well, now they cost you. Every one of these you have to take one single tag off. And so maybe, you know what, I was working on this and it didn't really work. Okay, I'll take this out. Usually it's going to be bad for you. Sometimes it might not be the end of the world depending on. And now you're going to go through all the different scoring. So again, you're going to score all your tags, different points depending on where they're at. You're going to score all 3 objectives, like, hey, I have one next to the cop, that's one, right? So you go through all those other objectives. And again, these objectives change pretty much every game, and the one who has the most points is the winner. One big suggestion, scoring's there's a lot going on in the scoring in this game. There really should have been a real score sheet to keep track of all this, because you end up doing it anyway. It's one of the big little nitpicks of this game, otherwise the game's fantastic. You know, when I played this, the first thing I thought of is like, oh my gosh, this is like one of my favorite Ryan Kenichi games, Blue Lagoon, like with the network building, but it's in real time. It was like, and I love Blue Lagoon and I love real time, which is why naturally I love this game. It's awesome. I like that you're set collecting and you're doing it with icons only, right? So you've got different things going on. You're trying to collect 2 different sets. You're matching icons, and then you're placing those on the board. You're doing network building, and you're trying to build clusters, and you're going to be doing things with different groups, endgame points, things like that. And I love that someone's trash is possibly your treasure, or vice versa, because as I showed you, those share piles are cool. You can place something there. It's flexible. You can use color or icon to place into a share pile. But if something's there that you need, you can just take it and put it right into one of your sets if it matches the icon. And I like that, because you're watching what other players are doing. You're kind of, maybe you're not really sure what to do. You don't have anything to do. You don't want to really discard it. Maybe wait a second and see what people are doing. Great, you put something down I needed. Or great, there's already something that I need down there. Or I'm getting ready to start a new set. There's a park in that share pile. There's a park in this share pile. Let me get this. I got 2 of 3 of a new set. I wasn't really going for it, but look what just came up. You're constantly recalculating what's going on in this real-time adventure. I love it. Discarding to the share piles, again, I love the flexibility of that. I like that the hand limit of 3 keeps your decision space tight. You just can't keep drawing cards. You got to figure out what to do with those cards. I like that you can rush the set, but you take that cop card, and again, a lot of times it can really hurt you, but sometimes depending on how you've built your thing and what goals you were able to get, which ones you weren't quite ready to take advantage of, sometimes it might not be the end of the world, but it might be timely to put something somewhere or block somewhere else, as I showed you. The real time works really well in this game, even for players that don't necessarily like real time. And I show this in the game because in the overview, because when the round ends, you might still have cards in your hand. There might still be stuff in the share piles, and you can still complete the sets that you've started. You can't start a new one, but you can complete it. So it's great. You can kind of sort of just take your time, gather yourself. If you don't like real time, the pressure sort of drops, and you just kind of like play your turn out. It doesn't take too long. There's probably not a lot of options left anyway, but you kind of finish it out. And I really like that the last player can not only complete their sets, but if you didn't complete all your sets and you still have some tags, you still get to add 6 next round. So you don't lose much, right? Maybe you'll have a better second round or a better third round. And again, this is one of those things where, like, I love real-time games, so I love this, but the people that don't like real-time games, you might still like this because of the way they've kind of made these little concessions to make it possible for people that don't like real-time to like this. I think it's cool. I like that there's 3 different objectives. I like that they're different each game. It gives you different things to think about. I like that you're trying to cut each other off. I like the randomized setup of the different boards. The game has a lot going for it. On the negative side of things, there's really just one, well, maybe 2, is that I talked about how real-time, it's better for people that don't like real-time. It's still not going to make you like a real-time game. If you absolutely hate real-time games, this will be one that, like, if you have friends that love real-time, you could probably still play it and not hate it. right? You might even like it actually, but it's not gonna be one that's gonna make you be like fall in love with the genre. I mean, real time's pretty, it's pretty polarizing. You usually either love it or hate it. For people that are like, I don't really like it, but I'll play it if you guys want to, you might actually enjoy this one. But it's still not gonna make you love the genre. And the second thing I showed in the overview at the end there, this game really should have came with a score pad with all the different ways of scoring, because it does get quite confusing when you're scoring everybody's up and you're looking at the different groups and you're looking at the different icons, counting them all up. And did I count this one? I don't remember. It should have just been a score pad. Other than that, the game's fantastic. This is, again, like a real-time Blue Lagoon for me, which I love. So this is staying in my gaming library. It's getting a saxophone serenade, which is how I induct games in my gaming library. It's my highest honor, which means it's going to go on my new arrivals shelf in about 6 months from now. It's going to probably cycle through and have to go on the normal, I would call this sort of like, it's either going to be in my sort of like my next step shelf. It's probably like a tad past gateway game, but it could be a gateway game. And I'll have to figure out what game to get rid of then. But until then, this has been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships with board games, and helping you find the next one you love. Hit it. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing, thematic, premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below to late pledge for their latest Game Topper 3.5 Kickstarter campaign.